I moved into my first apartment alone when I turned 21. It was a small unit in a quiet building. The rent was suspiciously cheap, but I didn't care. I just needed space away from my family. My neighbor upstairs was odd. I never saw him, but every night around 2 a.m., I'd hear furniture dragging, footsteps pacing back and forth, and sometimes low muffled humming. At first, I chalked it up to insomnia. Maybe he was just restless, but it happened every single night. Same time, same sounds, same pattern. One night, out of frustration, I banged on my ceiling with a broom. The sound stopped immediately. For a second, I felt relieved. Then, someone banged back, harder, deliberate. I froze. The next morning, I went up to apologize, but the door was slightly open. I knocked and called out, "Hello?" No answer. Inside, the apartment was empty. No furniture, no carpets, nothing. Just dust. The landlord arrived shortly after and looked confused when I asked about the guy upstairs. "That unit's been empty since the last tenant disappeared 6 months ago," he said. I stared at him. "But I've heard footsteps, furniture moving, every night." He shrugged nervously. "Some tenants complain about that, but there's no one up there. I've changed the locks myself." I didn't sleep well that night. Around 2 a.m., the noises came back, this time louder, faster, and then I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. They stopped at my front door, and then came the knocks, 3 of them, but this time from inside my apartment. When I first moved into my new apartment complex, I was just happy to be on my own. Quiet area, clean place, not a lot of noise, except for one thing. Apartment 3B, the one directly across the hall, the guy living there seemed off. He never said much, maybe just a nod when we crossed paths. But I'd hear him pacing, back and forth, almost every night, like he was waiting for something. One evening I came back from work late and saw him standing outside his door, staring directly at mine. He didn't move, just watched me walk past. I gave a quick, "Hey," and he nodded, but his eyes didn't leave me, not even when I closed my door. It was weird, but I figured maybe he was just lonely or something. A few days later, I got a knock on my door. It was our building manager. "Hey, just checking in," he said. "We're finally clearing out 3B next week." I blinked. "Wait, clearing it out?" He nodded. "Yeah, that place has been empty for months. The guy who lived there died back in December." Sad story. I felt cold all over. I had seen someone. I had nodded to someone. Just last night, I told him, straight up, "I've been seeing someone there. He lives across from me. He's always pacing. I hear him moving around." The manager just looked at me like I was nuts. "There's no one in 3B. There can't be. The locks haven't even been changed." I swear I wasn't imagining it. That night I sat on my couch, staring at that door across the hall, waiting, hoping I wouldn't hear the usual footsteps. But at 2:17 a.m., the pacing began. Same rhythm, same footsteps. Only this time, they stopped directly in front of my door. Then came the knock. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stared at the door as the peephole slowly darkened like someone was standing right in front of it. I never opened the door. The next morning I checked the hallway. No one. But taped to my door was a piece of paper. It just read, "You can see me." That's rare. I moved out a week later. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't explain a thing. But to this day, I don't ever look through peepholes. Not after dark. I used to live in this older apartment building, the kind with creaky floors and peeling paint. But rent was cheap, and my neighbor in 2F, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Langston, was always friendly. She lived directly below me. We didn't talk much, but she'd smile, sometimes wave from her window if I walked by. She kept to herself, until the night I heard her screaming. It was around 1 a.m. At first I thought it was a TV, but the scream came again. Louder, more real. "Help me, please! He's in here!" I jumped out of bed and called the police. They said someone else had already reported it and officers were on their way. But something told me to go downstairs. I crept down the hall and stopped outside her apartment. It was silent now. No screaming, no noise, just stillness. But her door was wide open. I called out, "Mrs. Langston." No answer. I stepped inside. The lights were on. Furniture untouched. But there was no one there. Then something made my stomach turn. On the coffee table, I saw an envelope. My name was on it, in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a single piece of paper. It said, "He's not human. He wears their skin. Don't trust your neighbor upstairs." Wait, that was me. I lived upstairs. Suddenly I heard footsteps above, pacing exactly above me. Only thing was, I had been in my own apartment all night, alone. No one should have been walking up there. I ran out of her apartment, told the police everything when they arrived. But by then, the place was empty. They checked building records and told me something that still messes with my head. "Mrs. Langston? That apartment's been vacant for over 2 years," the officer said. "She died, stabbed to death, right in her living room." They showed me a photo. It was her, the same woman who smiled at me, the same one I saw at the window just days ago. Later that night, I went back to my apartment. But the moment I opened the door, I froze. All my furniture was rearranged. Stuff was wrong. Things I'd never owned were there. Photos, clothing, a mirror in the hallway. And worst of all, there was a framed picture of me and a woman I'd never met, smiling together. Someone had been living as me, or pretending to. I moved out the next day, didn't sleep at all. To this day, I don't know who or what lived above Mrs. Langston. But I never opened that envelope again, because I swear, the handwriting was mine.